Hello everyone. So, something probably good for me to admit out loud and online and for everyone to hear is that at no point in the foreseeable future will I ever be organized, okay? I think something I'm realizing is I'm just constantly working on too many little projects or big projects, and I kind of just have loose strands where like there's a strand here and there's a strand here and over here. And ideally I'm trying to kind of, pull them all together, but I'm not sure if they'll ever get together or not. We'll see. But the best plan I have at this point is I want to do this Sanctify Your Guts series that I mentioned. And all of those videos, Sanctify Your Guts, I'm going to be posting on Beatific Films, the YouTube channel and our website. So I'll have the title somewhere around here. You can see Beatific Films. And then the rest of these videos I'll be doing continued through the St. Joseph's pages. The reason is because I want to, the Sanctify Your Guts, it's going to take more time. And I realize in the in between, I still want to be kind of getting content out there. So I'll do just sort of these simple videos where I'm just sitting around talking, and then I'll continue the Sanctify Your Guts series. So Sanctify Your Guts will be at Beatific Films, and then everything else will just be here through St. Joe's. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. See the links below, see the different pages. But so I guess in just the videos I want to be just getting out there in the meantime, figured it's time to start talking about prayer, It's time to start talking about prayer. So I have a ton I want to say about this, and I don't have it organized yet. So I'm just going to start throwing things out there because that's better than saying nothing, because I'm spending an eternity trying to prepare perfect organization. Okay, so a few thoughts on prayer. Here they go. First, it might sound kind of bad, but this actually was a great relief for me to hear a great spiritual author say, in prayer, we're always going to be a beginner. And again, at first it's like, well, dang, like always stuck as a beginner. I'm never going to get anywhere. You mean it never gets better? But the reason that was encouraging is because, first of all, it means you're maybe not doing as bad as you thought. Another wise priest said, no one's prayer life is ever like they want it to be. Which again, might sound discouraging at first, but it's a bit reassuring of like, oh, I thought it was just me. Oh, I thought everything was messed up. It's like, no, this is actually kind of part of what prayer is like. One of the great classics in our spiritual tradition is called the cloud of unknowing. So this is like a guy at the spiritual heights, right? And this is his title, Cloud of Unknowing. And again, I'll clarify on this more down the road, but that's not all bad. I mean, the essence of that is just that you're delving into something so huge, so gigantic, it's like you're only always at the beginning of it. That's the idea. Not that it never gets better, not that you never get any closer or make, progress. It just means, hey, you're dealing with something huge here. And it means you're always going to be greater depths to go, and we're always sort of just at the beginning of the thing. But to know that, you're always a beginner in prayer. And again, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's kind of like if you're like riding in a boat, a small boat. It doesn't mean you can never learn to be stable. It just means you're always kind of balancing as the waves go, right? You can never just like stand there as the thing shakes around and you're unmoved. You're always going to be kind of holding your balance. And that means shifting here, shifting there, moving with the waves. That's just the waves of the world outside and the waves of the world inside. So expect that to always be taking place more or less. Sometimes you get to kind of calmer waters and there's not as much, like this kind of a thing, which is nice. And then, won't last too long because eventually. But expect that there's waves, and this is the trail we're journeying, or this is the path we're journeying. We're on water, so to speak. So expect water. Don't expect pavement. Which takes me to the next point. Expect a mess. When you close your eyes, when you try to quiet yourself down, just expect a mess. Like that's just how things are. And again, not always bad. It's sort of like I just said with all those ties I'm trying to tie together. Just there's a lot of things going on inside of us. We're incredibly complicated but incredibly large inside. You know, we're made in the image of infinite mystery. So we ourselves are going to be mysterious. And again, not bad. There's lots of room for discovery. There's lots of room to grow and expand. But there's a lot of pieces going on. And that's going to be, again, part of the journey. They say when you go into the interior world, you're in a land that has no road map. The only map you have is trust. There's signposts, I guess, and we'll talk about some of those. And I think there are ways where we can kind of know, like, you're off the path. We don't always know where the path is. We don't have, a map of the path. But there's certain signposts, like if you're like, oh, I'm at the bottom of a swamp. It's like, oh, okay, you're not supposed to be there. So if you're saying like, oh, I'm just super stressed and angry as I pray all the time, it's like, oh, you're probably off the path. Let's pull this back somewhere. So there's signposts and there's signs. And again, that's going to be an ongoing conversation. But expect a mess. You're on water. That's going to be part of it. It's part of the whole thing here. Okay. Those are good things to know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're just consoling. But there's signs. Okay. Next is this. I want to give you a few questions here. And these are questions that, again, I want to talk about. I can't claim to answer them, but I want to at least say stuff about them. And, but I give them to you kind of as like retreat questions almost, right? Or meditation questions. You don't have to do a whole retreat on them, though why not? If you got the time. Maybe we should look into that later, doing some kind of digital retreat. Anyways, okay, rambling. So, oh yeah, questions. So take these as like, I used this image before of like you're going out on a stroll. And what happens when you just go out on a stroll? You're not walking to any particular place. Like I'm going to walk to wherever. It's just like I'm going to go out and walk. Or even if you have a goal, you're walking, okay. The point is the walk, right? So you're walking, you're seeing people and waving, you're enjoying the sights, you're enjoying the silence. Maybe you're listening to music. But it's sort of the thing is, you're taking this stroll. So prayer and meditation is kind of like that. Like take one of these things and go on a stroll with it and just see where it takes you. See what happens as you go. So a few questions. And then my other thought on these questions is, you don't have to, but this is just a possibility if you want it. You could even leave like comments on this video, or again, send them to the email address I'm setting up, frpeterquestions@yahoo.com. Which again, I'll put hopefully on the bottom of the screen here. frpeterquestions@yahoo.com. Send them, and again, it can be anonymous or because the thought is, as I do these videos in the future, it'd be kind of helpful to respond to some of this stuff. So we can almost do like group-wide spiritual direction, so to speak. And it doesn't have to be so, a lot of us share the same struggles, the same questions. So anyways, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. So sorry to lose you and all that. Here's the important thing. Take these questions into your prayer. First is this. What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? And honestly, like sometimes that's our question. It's like, what am I doing here? Good question. Sit on that a bit. Walk with that a bit. What are you doing when you pray? Why are you there? Why do you pray? So as you go into prayer, it's asking yourself, what am I here for? What brought me here? What expectations do I have coming here? What am I hoping for? What do I think I'm supposed to be doing? What is this all about? And, what's the goal? What's the purpose of prayer? It'd be very interesting to hear some answers on that. And again, I want to talk about it more later. I'm going to leave the question hanging for the time being. But those questions, what are you doing? What are you here for? What are you aiming at? What's your goal? Then ask, you don't have to take all these questions, like try to answer all of these. These are just suggestions, as always. But another one for you, who are you talking to? And again, the obvious answer, oh, God, well, maybe, we'll see. Ask that question when you finish praying. Look back on your prayer and say, who was I talking to? We assume we're going there to talk to God, and hopefully so. But notice, as you're praying, is that what's happening? Who are you focused on? Or what are you focused on? Again, it's sort of just trying to make explicit and intentional what often is just kind of passing by unnoticed in prayer. So we're trying to sort of like put a video camera there, and don't get obsessed about it, because actually St. Francis de Sales and St. Anthony, they say, you're praying right when you don't even know you're praying. Boy, what is that? What could that even possibly mean? But it means like in any good thing, you're lost in the thing. You're not sitting there thinking about the thing as you're doing the thing. You're just doing the thing. So yeah, real prayer, we're not even aware that we're praying. But as you're kind of reflecting on this, so go and pray for a little bit and come back and say, who was I talking to? What was I focused on? What was I trying to do there? What was I expecting? What was I wanting? And then lastly, think about what's happening. What's happening? Like, what happened? And what was it like? Just in the same way that you look at maybe a good conversation with a friend or something and kind of examine it, like, what was that like? What happened? What were the movements? Good question for you in your prayer. Okay, this is getting longer than I wanted it to be. I keep dreaming that I can do something succinct. After all that, just a few clarifications, or a few more things. What's supposed to be happening in some way is like prayer is supposed to be enjoyable. Prayer is supposed to be enjoying God. Prayer is supposed to be expanding the heart. And now it's not always like that, because there's times where prayer is frustrating, prayer is dry, prayer is nothing, prayer is all kinds of different things. But if we're kind of at least aiming at that, so if that's not happening, then at least we can start questioning and saying, okay, why is this not happening? Why is this not enjoyable? Or why do I feel like I'm not expanding my heart? Why is this not increasing my peace? Or even if it's all bad, it's like, okay, at least just be sharing that grief with God. That's good prayer. You're going in whatever frustrations you have, it becomes prayer when you share it with God. That's the difference between venting and prayer, the difference between just rambling and prayer. You're sharing it with God very intentionally. Last thing. One goal, this isn't the goal, but one goal of prayer is sanity and love. And in the past, we've kind of treated prayer, I think, often as sort of like a nice thing to do, something we should be doing. I think more and more as things get difficult, it's not optional as much anymore. And again, it doesn't mean we have hours to do it, but whatever little bit we can do, it's becoming more and more necessary. Not just because it's some duty God wants you to do. We're going to talk about that. It's not it at all. But it's like, do you want to be sane? Do you want peace of heart? Do you want love? This is what's supposed to be happening in prayer. It's supposed to be increase in sanity and immersion in love. So those are just some starting ramblings on prayer. We'll see if I can start tying some things together here. But I want to be reflecting and to be a bit more focused and intentional on prayer. And again, if you want, send questions or send comments, and it can be more of a dialogue. But other than that, I'll just keep shooting out random stuff, and we'll see how it goes. All right, God bless you all. Peace.